Okay, here we are, with the Finance Committee meeting. Today's Tuesday, January 23rd, 7 o'clock. We're in room 21 on the second floor of Town Hall. Roll call. We have Al Cafferty, John Noon, Kathleen Otina, Mike Warner, and myself. We do have a quorum with 5 members. Rosemary Connolly just dismissed to go to the planning board meeting. I did get a text message from Chuck Colby, who said he wouldn't be able to attend, and also another text message from Justin Casanova Davis, who also said he wouldn't be able to make the meeting tonight with a conflict. So, the meeting minutes, we have before us meeting minutes from January 2nd, January 9th, and January 16th. Reserve fund stands at $35,000. Public forum, there's no one here to speak on any item not on the agenda. So under new business, we do have a scheduled meeting with animal control at 7:15. Whether or not that will happen will depend on whether employee from the animal control will join us.
Mr. Mitchell's.
Okay.
Hello.
Ralph Mitchell now in attendance. Thank you, Ralph.
Hey, Ralph.
So in the old business, we have our standing old business items. And then we have communication, and our upcoming meetings are listed at the bottom of the page on the agenda. So, Ralph, do you want copies of the meeting minutes?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay,
There you go.
look at that.
Thank you.
And they're front and back, so.
All right, so if it is amenable to the board, we'll move right into the previous meeting minutes. And we'll start with the January 2nd meeting. As Elizabeth said, she's printed these out. It's a two-sided document. January 2nd starts on page 658. I did review all 3 sets of meeting minutes. I found nothing to amend on the first set. The second set, only on the third set did I find anything to amend. So, as that is a guide, but certainly anybody that has found something that they want to correct on page 658, I will entertain it.
Looks good.
All right, we'll move then on to page 659. So we are in this particular page meeting with the South Shore VOTEC Superintendent Thomas Hickey, and he's making his budget presentation, which did occupy the better part of this meeting minutes on page 659.
I'd like to insert something here.
Okay,
Just for the sake of clarity, the last full paragraph, when it, second sentence where it says discussion took place regarding 16N. And I think for the sake of clarity, we should insert MGL Chapter 71, Section 16N, regional vocational schools incurring debt, because that's what the discussion was about.
okay. So Mass General Law, what was the number?
Chapter 71,
Seven-
Section 16N.
You got it? Okay, very good, thank you. Anybody else on page 659?
Chuck's not here again.
Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to page 660. So still talking with Mr. Hickey on that first paragraph, second paragraph. And then at 8:09, we had the Department of the Board of Health presentation from Dan Kelly. And that continues near to the bottom of the page. And then in the last part of page 660, we start discussing old business. Anybody have anything that they want to amend on this page, 660? Seeing nothing, we'll move on to page 661, the final page of the meeting minutes for January 2nd. So the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District audit is the leading sentence on page 661. Then we go into general discussion of the fiscal 25 budget, the annual report. And then in other business, Kathleen Otina mentioned the December 20th school committee meeting. Changed from a budget presentation to an executive session, and then ending with communication at 8:56, motion to adjourn. Anything on that page? Okay, then I will entertain a motion to accept the January 2nd.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, so that'll bring us to the January 9th meeting. So this starts on page 662. The attendance, we had 2 meeting minutes that were accepted as amended. And then we did the Recreation Department budget meeting, which fills up that rest of that page after we introduced and heard from the newest member of the Finance Committee, Justin Casanova Davis, who is attending his birthday. Anybody have anything to amend through that page, 662?
One word I'd like to swap.
Okay.
It is on the second paragraph. Mr. Warner understands the challenge with this type of budget. I'd like to change the word understands to notes.
Okay,
Where are
we're in the
It's
fifth
under-
line down on the second to last paragraph.
we? Second to last paragraph?
Yeah, the
fifth line down.
questions paragraph.
The fifth line down.
See where it says
Okay, notes,
notes?
thank you.
So,
Okay. All right, so that's page 662, 663. We are now we're meeting with Dave Aronson for the library budget presentation, and that goes to the almost the entire end of page 663. And then we pick up with Facilities Department in the final sentence on that page. Anything to amend on page 663? All right, seeing none, we'll move to 664. So we're talking to Todd Decudo with the facilities manager budget, and that discussion goes to the 2/3 of the way down. And then we discuss old business items and a general discussion of fiscal 25 budget, and end with communication.
It's one, a little bit more than halfway down. Elizabeth, you did a great job spelling Todd's last name correctly until
Until,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the sixth or seventh line up from that big paragraph. You have Mr. Kudo, just change it to DeCudo.
Well, I see it. Thank
very
you.
good, thank you. All right, anything else on 664?
so I'm not sure, but probably it is about in the middle of the thing. It's the sentence begins, currently Mass State Cleaning has been cleaning the police station, etc. I believe that Mass State Cleaning is a proper name for a business, so it should all be capitalized.
You're right.
Okay. MSC. Capitals. Very good. Do you see where that is?
Got it.
Okay. All right, and then the last page is more or less just a motion to adjourn and a listing of the upcoming meetings. So that will complete the meeting minutes for January 9th. And we'll entertain a motion to accept as amended.
Move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Abstain. I was
And one abstention.
out.
It's still a quorum, so 501 Al. Okay, silence my phone, sorry.
Thought it might have been the recorder, I didn't know.
My son's traveling to Ohio, so told him to text me when he got there. So we're now on January 16th meeting, which starts on page 666. Maybe that has something to do
Right?
with it.
I did not want to write that. I tried to condense and lengthen the meetings before that.
All right, so here we are on this evil first page of the meeting minutes from January 16th.
And the beast.
So the first page near the bottom, the last paragraph, I just wanted to amend the sentence just to. So it's actually your comment, Kathleen. It said Ms. Otina questioned when the finance committee room would have access to Wi-Fi, and then there was a semicolon, I guess, and there was no direct answer. So maybe end her sentence there with a period, and then begin the next sentence with, although Mr. McNeil provided a proposed method, there was no direct answer. So there's still no direct answer.
All right,
The last paragraph on page 666. First,
Did you have it say, although Mr. McNeil provided?
yeah, so here's how, in my mind, it would read. Ms. Otina questioned when the finance committee room would have access to Wi-Fi, period. And then a new sentence, capital, although Mr. McNeil provided a proposed method, comma, there was no direct answer. How's that?
Yes.
Because he did say what needed to be done.
He did
But
this.
yeah, he went like this. From the server room, he made like an Ark of the Covenant. It showed a wire coming down somewhere in that wall.
And then talked about that.
Yes. Okay. That's the only amendment I had on that page. Anybody see anything else?
No.
Okay. Page 667. Here's where the wheels come off the bus. So I just start with that first paragraph. It says, Mr. Anderson questioned, or I guess you have to go back to the end of this one, because we're talking about copier equipment, right?
Correct.
So my sentence had absolutely nothing to do with copiers. My sentence was, this should be near the end of our discussion, because I said, if his budget wasn't approved, where would he cut? Was my statement. So it really had nothing to do with copiers. But it seems that all these other statements are inside the copier kind of discussion, right?
No.
But it goes back into the copier.
Well, I don't know. I'm looking. My statements there are about software licensing, which is the big budget.
So all the statements after that questioned if the increase was not approved. So the 20.8% increase should have been listed there. So
Right, yeah, that would be,
I don't know why that's not in there because
yeah, because it comes right after the copier thing, so it looks like it's part of the copier thing, right?
Yeah.
That's where I said, I don't know where to begin, but,
So
So-
if I insert the 20.8% increase request, because everything below that is kind of the conversation that happened
As a
when,
result of that.
as a result to your questioning, what do you think you're going to do if it's not?
okay. So it could have been in that, yeah, chronological order, but I guess what made me confused was near the end of the paragraph, we're talking about the fiber optic system, which really didn't have anything to do with the copiers. It was another whole discussion about that proposed warrant article that uses the grant to put fiber optics, right?
Yeah.
That was that discussion. So
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that this all isn't in the context of copiers, that's all. So,
No, so I'm reading it through, Rick, and you know, what he basically says is that we brought up the point if one department grows, that money has to come out of somebody else's department. It's just, you know, there's a finite amount of finance here, and this is. He went into the telephone system line item at 29,000, et cetera. So at that point, he starts to talk about, you know, where where he would pull stuff. If there's a request to pull it out, he can save money with paper and ink and stuff like it. I think he went back into it there, so it does
Right.
kind of look like it. But it's really in answer to the question of what would we have to pull out of other places.
And
So-
my sentences are incredibly choppy, so I'm not sure if you would like
Yeah.
to table these minutes, and I will.
We'll give you another try. I'm all in for that.
Yeah.
Because we could spend about 25 minutes trying to collectively decide, but I think if you just go back to the tape and it probably is more than one paragraph.
I reread it, and everything is exactly how it went down.
Right.
My sentences are not coming together the way that they should, or somebody else's perspective to understand it.
Sure.
This is just,
That's what Rosemary tells me all the time. It's my lack of understanding, not the way it's presented.
but honestly, I mean, this is what it was on the tape.
Right.
Because I have the transcript.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it was chronological. Because sometimes our meeting is that way too.
Right.
We get on a topic, we get off, we get back on. So I don't blame you at all.
Sit back.
Is it because
It's just that if someone was reading this for the first time, they
Yes.
would be, whoa.
It
what's
wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, being here, I can make sense of what you said.
Right.
But I think somebody else would. Yeah.
So I'm amenable if the board wants to table the meeting minutes for January
To table the
16th.
Sure.
So this
Get a
is
second?
referendum.
All in favor? All right. Thank you, Elizabeth. Sorry, I in no way want to be critical. It just was difficult to, if we do that by committee, it'll take too long, I think.
I have a whole meeting just for that.
That's right. All right, thank you very much for that. We get back to our agenda. And so 7:15 has come and gone, and we're not going to get anybody here from Animal Control. There is still a possibility that we'll get the director from Cable Access, but I probably let you know that he was pretty clear that he didn't feel. I'll just kind of summarize his email response to his invitation to come, was that the money that's appropriated at town meeting to fund the department, we're more or less just passing the money through town meeting. We're not amending it, we're not evaluating it. It used to just go directly there. Now it goes to the town at town meeting. Now, if in fact there was some interest in amending the budget, it would go through a whole different process than the finance committee. It would have to go through a review of his department, the board of selectmen, the town administrator. So he felt that it really wouldn't be any benefit for him to come talk about his budget at FinCom, which does make sense. But I would say if anybody has any concerns about cable access, or maybe if the building is shared by Whitman and Hanson Cable Access, who's paying for the utilities? Who's paying the rent? I mean, is it shared? Are we, is there a payment in lieu of taxes for the town of Hanson? Questions like that, we can direct them to the town administrator, I guess, and then if there needs to be some follow-up with cable access, I'm sure that we could do it that way. So, does anybody think otherwise for a meeting with cable access? We have never met with cable access previously, but this year we wanted to give everybody opportunity to come to the finance committee. So,
we should ask them those direct questions, Rick,
yeah,
Absolutely.
Well, didn't Rosemary have a question
about the building, yes.
about the building?
Yes, and the shared use, because it's Whitman Hanson Cable Access, right? The building's in Whitman, right?
And whether we give them the building or we...
Right.
Lease it to them.
Or do we lease it, and is it for $1? Who's in charge of maintenance? Because we don't see that building on the facilities manager capital.
Same with the armory, Rick, too, right? We should do that too as well, huh?
Well, yeah, he does. He has that in his facilities. Yeah. But the Clothell building is another one. I mean,
Right.
that's another one that's on the table for a renegotiation of $1 lease to self-help, right? I mean, so the only way we'll get questions answered is if we ask them, right? So, all right. So that's it for then the budget meetings, I think. And like I say, it's 7:45. We could have the director come, but at this time, I think we'll move on to old business. So we'll start with subcommittee reports for Capital Committee. Kathleen.
We are scheduled to meet this Thursday. I still do not have a copy of capital requests, even though I have asked for it 2 more times. So I was hoping Mary Beth would be here tonight so I could ask her, does she as the town administrator receive a copy of them? I don't know what people are asking for.
And when is your meeting?
This Thursday at 5:30.
Oh, okay, so you should have it in your hand by then.
You like to think, but I don't. I'm not holding my breath.
Okay. All right, on the Regional School District Agreement Amendment Committee,
We meet on February 12th. No update on that, nothing new.
okay? And the Middle School Building Committee,
I think we meet on the 20th. I'm not sure of the date, but that's coming up in February.
okay, February.
Nothing new.
All right, and the Public Works Department Building Committee did meet last week. We talked about the notice to proceed for the contractor, the general contractor. The language was not accepted by the general contractor. He was concerned about the way the wording, the whole crux of the notice to proceed is to make sure that the contractor has a specific amount of days to complete the project. So it's 395 days, I think, to complete. Now, since we're waiting for our special legislation, we're giving a notice to proceed not to exceed the amount of money we already have appropriated, and we don't have the money that was voted at the election until we get that special legislation. So notice to proceed is like long lead time items, submittals and work on that type of administrative work until we have the green light letter to get them on site and get the shovel in the ground. So I did see another email go back and forth about the wording of the notice to proceed. So in my mind, we should just word it the way the contractor wants it. I mean, at this point, we're kind of holding him hostage with the special legislation that's holding up our borrowing. So that our next meeting is also in February, middle of February, when at that point we should have the contractor on site and started work, I would imagine. So the next old business item is the Whitman Hanson Regional School District audit. As far as I know, that's going forward, and we could ask Mary Beth next week to give us an update on that. Anybody have anything else for budget discussion? The only thing is, I did send an email out noting that March 15th is primary election day.
March 5th.
Yes.
March 5th, sorry. Did I write 15? I think
No, it's in your emails, the 5th.
I did write it on this agenda as the 15th.
Okay.
So March 5th is primary election day, so we should move the capital committee to the 27th of February.
Is it as good a day as?
Yeah, that's the previous Tuesday.
The previous
and then,
Tuesday.
And then move the Board of Selectmen out to the 12th, I'm assuming?
Right, so we don't meet at all on the 5th. And then propose to the Board of Selectmen the March 12th date to get back in and talk about a balanced budget or how we're gonna get there, right? Whatever that's gonna mean, using one-time money, doing an override, but I think that's the time to have that discussion. Not the week before town meeting.
Correct.
So, Elizabeth, can you update the schedule? I know I've made a lot of changes near the end, but I think the benefit of that is we're looking so far into the schedule, we haven't given people, the wrong date yet because we're amending ahead of notice. So, we haven't sent a notice to Capital Committee, which now we will do on January 27th to tell them on February 27th. We'll be meeting with them 30 days in advance.
I'll mention it Thursday night,
Okay,
that the invitation will be coming.
excellent. Anybody have any problems with it yet?
I do want to note, I would not be able to be here on the 12th. I'm away in Nashville for the week.
Okay, March 12th?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if we can do it, I advocate for us to do that, but just let me know, right, I will be far away.
Okay, so, we could even move, based on,
We'll zoom you in, okay?
so we could move that to the
Zoom you
19th.
in.
No, it's a sales kickoff at work, so.
So it'll be like, it's a floating thing anyways, because it really is up to the Board of Selectmen when they want to have a joint meeting anyway.
Yep.
So good that you're letting us know. So if they don't want the 12th, it's better for us if it's the 19th, so, or even the 26th. But I don't think we should meet into April and talk about a path forward,
No.
right?
Do you want me to put it on the night?
So let's leave it on the, yeah, let's put it on the 19th, yeah.
I can go on the 19th, yes, but I can't.
That's right, you were gonna be absent as well.
Oh, boy.
Okay. So let's put the joint meeting as a place setter on the 19th, nothing on the 12th. Although we'll probably still meet on the 12th to talk about, prioritizing this budget and what our recommendations are as a finance committee, right? But we just won't have any budget meetings with departments, so far that I can see. Okay, so then we still have February 6th as Whitman Hanson. We still have those other boards on the 13th. Hey, yeah.
People
They
still
were,
do it.
they were noisy out there.
Oh, no.
They are going with their original plan.
Oh,
Just thank them for it, essentially.
good. That's good news.
Talked about brownfields a little.
And did they adjourn?
No, they went on, but I mean, they were really positive. They took pictures and did to me what we're doing.
Okay.
You know, they
You're
did.
happy, I'm happy.
Right.
So just for the meeting minutes, we'll just note Rosemary Connolly's back from the planning board hearing with an update for the committee.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we're just going over our schedule. So Elizabeth is going to send out the schedule, just some amendments there near the end of the month of February, changing things around a little bit.
So just so for next week, we have the town admin and the clerk.
Right. So while we're there, let's just take a moment to just review, for those that aren't familiar with the town administrator selectman budget, how many departments that includes. So if you want to prepare questions for next week, you should be looking at, starting on page 1, obviously, for the selectmen's budget, department number 2 is on page 1, is selectmen. It includes all those line items there. The next one is the FinCom, which is department number 3, right? We just submitted a balanced budget. Department 4 is reserve fund. That's another one that the TA selectmen are in charge of. And then page 2 and 3, line, or department 110, board of registrars. Do you remember if that was from the TA? Who, is that the clerk?
The clerk.
Okay, it's the
Yes,
clerk.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so that will be the clerk. That's what I put, clerk or TA. So the next one, on page 5 is the animal control, which was supposed to be tonight. So for your questions for animal control, which is department number 19, on page 5, you can formulate for next week for the town administrator. And then on page 8, she should be reviewing miscellaneous community services, which is department 29. Miscellaneous department 29. Miscellaneous community services, which is Whitman Will and Plymouth County 4-H. And then OPEB is another one, department number 34. And department number 35 is town-wide expenses, which includes things like the audit, legal services, town reports. And then, I think we're almost done. Town-wide services, that's the last one, right?
Yep.
Okay, so if you want to formulate your questions for those departments, the town administrator, and possibly members of the Board of Selectmen may be here to chime in on the answers to those. And then we have the clerk. as well. So, questions for the clerk. Okay, so that gets us through the fiscal 25 budget, unless anybody has anything else they want to review tonight for,
Can I just offer that I'm keeping a running tally of the budget requests versus the TA's balanced budget. And although her balanced budget had a $270,000 deficit, we're looking at over $1 million right now.
right, if we go by what the department submitted.
Right, without even having the vocational budget or the school budget.
Right.
Before any of the school issues I've dealt with, we're $1 million short.
But we do have place setters for both
Yes, we do.
the regional and the VOTEC, yeah. Good point, yeah, I think it's important that we start.
We're right
We
back
gotta
where we
get,
were last year, but we're months ahead of
at
time.
least we're ahead of that, yeah. Rosemary,
Did we get the 5-year, did you send out the request to do the 5-year?
I did send out the request, yep, and I got an email back from, Selectman Kane, who said that is something we absolutely can do, just be aware that the financial team is gonna be a little bit burdened with the departure of the accountant. That's a member of the municipal team, finance team, so it's not that we're not gonna get the information, we're just not gonna get it soon. So, hopefully in the next couple of weeks we can get that information, because I think it's an important way to start looking at where we need to cut. Which departments grew because of the pandemic, and, you know, which way should they go? Should they continue to grow? Should they, you know, go ahead, Al.
My recommendation, if you talk to department heads, Rick, or send an email out, give us the budget, your wish list budget, and give us the one that level funded with your 2.5% increases on your salaries as what the town administrator actually asked the department heads to do, and they're not doing it.
Right, so I mean, so our recommendation could be just simply to take the fire budget, just as an example, and go from whatever it is now to 2.5. And then that department is the one that's gonna have to do the line item
Right,
changes, because we're not gonna micromanage a department and
Right.
tell them which lines to cut,
right,
right?
so, right.
So, but I, it's all part of the process, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just unfortunate that we're so far beyond a balanced budget to start with. But, like Kathleen said, right now, it's January. It's not April. So,
And I have an accounting question, which we might not be able to answer, like there may not be anyone here. But with the school, the new school building being funded by a debt exclusion, and the school is going to be coming in with some request, I think it's a $6 million ban for fiscal 25, and only paying the interest, $240,000. That's not part of Article 2, is it? Because that would
No.
be putting it into
right.
the levy. And
It's not part of the levy.
Okay, I want to make sure, because I
Right.
keep looking at this debt service for the schools in Article 2. It's like, is that really taken out of the levy? Did somebody figure out?
The only time we had it in the levy was when we first built the police station, right?
Yeah.
Well,
We
that's-
made sure that in order to get it approved, we felt that the taxpayers would only support the building if it was inside the levy, which strangled all the other budgets for years until we took it out of the levy in the last several years of the loan. Right? Do you remember that?
I was not part of that because I would have said something aggressively against it. This is a really bad
Well,
idea.
at the time, you know,
Yeah, I don't know who
the
convinced
planets aligned, and there was a sufficient amount of money to fund it within the levy.
I just want to question how you had a sufficient amount of money to fund an entire building's build within the levy. That's insane.
Well, you can do a lot with smoke and mirrors sometimes if you really
Well, my
apply
question-
yourself.
My question is, the high school debt service is part of Article 2. Was the high school not a debt exclusion? And why is the high school debt in Article 2?
Okay, I can't answer that question.
Right, it is, so Mary Beth's not here.
But she'll be here next week, so I would write that question down for sure.
I certainly will.
So I have already prepared all the questions for next week, so, but like I said, that's why I want to give everybody else an opportunity by telling you which departments to look at, to formulate questions for, so. All right, so that's for the fiscal 25 budget. Anybody else We have one communication. This is from the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District, Office of the Superintendent. And it's to the Finance Committee. On behalf of the Whitman-Hanson Regional School Committee, I would like to communicate to you the overall timeline for the process of developing fiscal 25 budget and setting the town's assessment figures. This is to inform the members of the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee. As always, the members of both committees are encouraged to attend any of our budget meetings. Our next major budget meeting will be on Wednesday, February 7th at 6:30 at the high school. This is our annual public hearing budget meeting presentation. Future budget discussions will be held at each regularly scheduled school committee meeting. We hope to work closely with our town officials to develop a budget that is the best we can provide and still afford. We look forward to your attendance at the public hearing budget presentation on February 7th as we all work together and continue through the 24-25 budget cycle. We welcome any guidance you can give us as the school committee works to determine a March assessment figure to present at the May 24 town meetings. Please RSVP to Jennifer Croce and inform her about your availability. So I did call and left a message just to say we should post that because I imagine we're going to have a quorum. So we need to know the location of the meeting. Normally it's been in the library, but just to confirm, I'll have to post it next week. Yes.
Can we devise an expectation of when we need a general budget? Because I think we saw Sean Kane brought in a document that said how we're supposed to handle our finances, and the original sort of budget is based first on the school budget, your largest, and then you build the other ones sort of around that. And it's in the Finance Committee handbook, it's in all best financial practices, and without the schools giving us at least a range, right, it becomes hard to do any of this.
Well, let me just say it from this perspective. They're looking for the same thing from us as we are for them. So someone has to start the process, right? It's right in this letter. They want to know where the town stands with funding availability, right? So you got to start the process. So all I'm saying, Rosemary, is we meet like this so we can kind of get a draft budget to find out what we could afford, and then it goes back to them. Well, this is what we want.
I'm going to refer to John a little bit on this one, but it is my understanding that the reason the school budget is what we build on is that there are so many laws that you have to comply to when building a school budget that we can't really state, hey, I mean, that's why it's insulated with different elected officials that make these rules, because they have to understand the laws and regulations of Chapter 70, Student Opportunity Act, Special Ed. All of these things have to be met, or there's liability for the town. So that's why we sort of structure ourselves around that budget. It's the only department that we actually have to do in a town, and then we structure things beyond it. We should have to do other ones. So if anybody's listening to that and saying there's a favoritism, I believe police and fire and safety are very, very important too, but that's just not how the laws are structured. So for us to tell them what we can afford without the knowledge and the background and without understanding if we've sort of not met those thresholds, that's
Well, wouldn't we anticipate?
That's unconventional thinking.
Why would we anticipate what the town administrator asked the school department or the school budget to fall in line?
Exactly.
Okay, so we have to assume, give us the wish list, and give us the budget.
And I'm saying the same thing. We haven't even gotten that basic, the basic range.
Well, we could take our last year's budget and compare it, add the 2.5 increase rate. What do you think?
We haven't even gotten any number.
John.
No.
Granted, we should be getting our information from the town officials. Having said that, the local weekly newspaper already has figures in there as far as the school assessments coming in at, what was it, 11 or 13%? One was Hanson, one was Whitman.
Whitman is 11% of the operating expense. See, Jeff thinks of it as the overall budget. He's increasing the overall budget by 5%, which translates, when you do the assessment, into an 11% for Whitman. But he has a 5, a 4, a 3, and a 2 on one piece of paper.
Right, I've seen it.
No
I've seen all the numbers, yeah.
No documentation.
So I've seen
Yeah,
that right up too, but like I said,
So I was in for that meeting. Yeah, I was in for that meeting. But there's no back on that.
No, just, it's, there needs to be a process, right? We have a process in place. I come out of a business world. If you don't go to the finance team and ask for your budget for next year, you don't get a budget next year. I mean, that's easy. That's great. And I hope you all have a good time finding a new job because your department isn't funded. Goodbye. I know towns and governments are different, but there still has to be a process that's followed.
Thank you.
And I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
It's here's what it is. This is the budget that we know that we can hit. I understand they may come back and say, well, we've had several come. We already agreed to a larger than that for salary increases through contractual reasons.
Right.
Okay, let's figure that out. But you have to at least make a good faith effort to start.
Now, who's the liaison? Is it Sean the liaison, the selectman, to the school? Who's the liaison?
Kathy's our- Kathy's- Kathy's
And
our-
I've been to every
No,
meeting.
for the selectman, just selectman liaison.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think he just sent an email to spend
That'd
more
be the
money
person that we really want to hold accountable. I hate to say
to
it.
make him get that. Well,
The superintendent, did I interrupt you?
no, go ahead.
Responds to the school committee. Doesn't respond to us, doesn't respond to the Board of Selectmen. He answers to the school committee. And so our school committee representatives should be putting pressure on the school administration to give us the
Right, but it's also the selectmen, the CEOs of the town. The leadership is needed.
But Jeff doesn't respond to, he's not accountable to them. He's accountable to the school committee.
Right.
They are his boss.
He's
We are his boss.
quoted in the Enterprise.
Yeah, so
That's the answer to us. So
right.
he made that statement
Oh,
very,
he's-
very clear.
That's-
Oh yeah, well we hear it all the time. So that's there's a chain of command. So there's a process. There is a process. But unfortunately,
we're getting a bill, and if we don't like that bill, we can say we don't like that bill. Or if we're getting a product, if we don't like that product, we can say we don't like that product. If that product creates liability for us, we could say it's a risk here. The liability I think we should really think about is that if we underfund it, we're going to underfund E&D, and we're going to underfund the ability to pay their pensions, and then we're going to have a problem with borrowing, because we're borrowing some of a lot of money, and one little percent dip can create long-term problems. So I really think that, and I said it last year, I don't know if anybody understood it last year, I said, guys, this is going to affect how we borrow. I went into the financial meeting, said the same thing. I said, you guys have to fix your E&D. That's, was it 5%, Kathy?
You can't have up to 5% of your operating, your total budget in E&D. So they could have up to close to $3 million.
And just so you know, it's towns can have similar amounts too. And I think Hanson is making it a policy to have 5% of E&D in their budget, because that's best practices.
Right.
Is best practices. I think Hickey all has it currently, but when we're borrowing with the and we're going to be the place that we've agreed to borrow the largest amount of money from doesn't have these stabilizing. We're going to end up paying a lot more. So
all I'm saying is the
don't
work
shoot ourselves in our foot.
the work that we're doing now is important. We're talking to all the other departments. The district is a department. I understand. They're their largest department. We still have to do our due diligence with all the other departments. So this is the time to do it. So when we hit the March meeting and we've met and we've gone to this budget hearing on February 7th, now we'll be able to make a much better stab at a balanced budget. To your point, we need to consider what the district is putting for a
We
An
need,
assessment.
yeah, make sure that they are not harming our ability to borrow from them and making us pay it another way. It's from one pocket or the other.
But all I'm saying is, there still has to be like, we give, we get, we get, we give. You know what I mean? There has to be that discussion going back and forth throughout the budget season, in my mind.
Yeah.
So, granted, the budgets that we got from the departments at the beginning, I mean, that's their wishes, right? We all know that, right? So, from there, well, at least we got a starting point. So back to this communication. So I'm going to post, just to make sure if we do have more than a quorum there, we're not in violation of open meeting law. And when I get the call back from the district on where the meeting is, I'll certainly have that in the posting. Go
There
ahead.
was another communication, wasn't there?
No.
The updated finance committee, I think it's 2021,
Oh.
but a lot of people may have gotten the older ones. And I think I sent you a snapshot. from
That's the
that.
same one we had.
Yeah, it's the same one we had, because I sent you a snapshot from the section for percentage. If people get a chance to read that over, and they get a section, read over the amount of aid you're supposed to have in a budget. 10 to 75% of your budget should be state aid supported, and that's including all the towns in Massachusetts, so it does include regional towns. But it also, aid really has a lot to do with your need to support, and we're below average wealth, so that we have below that in state aid support is a conversation I'm hoping we start to have, because our taxpayers are not getting the support that other towns are receiving, and I think that should be why we're asking why, and reviewing what's going on.
Okay. Excellent.
So just a follow-up question. Are we going to still hold our meeting on the 6th of February and then go the next day?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Because they're coming here.
Jeff is coming here on the 6th.
He's still going to come here. He's not going to give us the full budget presentation.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, he owes it to the school committee to give them the information first, and that's what that meeting is all
I'm
about.
just, does it make sense to do that, or to have a follow-up
Well,
afterwards, as opposed to the night before, when we don't really have the information to ask the questions, and he won't,
No, I think we still ask the questions. You know, in anticipation of the information we're going to get. I mean, from the information you got in the newspaper, I could think of a whole bunch of questions.
That was just a pamphlet.
That's true.
That was a pamphlet. No, not even a pamphlet. We got one flyer. It was the smallest. I've never seen something so skimpy. It was just numbers thrown on a page.
Right.
You're talking about the document that we both picked up at the
Was
school
that a
committee
document?
meeting.
I thought it was a flyer.
It was a document.
It was a piece of paper.
It was a piece of paper. You're right.
Years ago, from
Said books.
the fire chief Grenho, we got a back of the napkin budget presentation. Remember that? There was no backup at all. So,
And that meeting then on the Wednesday, do we know what time?
I think it's 6:30.
Is it
I
6:30?
think it's 6:30.
And
it's at 6:30 at the high school, and
at
it's
the high school.
in the library, most likely.
It's the only place big enough to hold a group.
But they might even move it to the auditorium if they had needed more room. But
Anson never shows up.
yeah, I think it's going to be in the library, and we'll reserve some seating so we can all.
What day was that, Rick? What date?
February 7th. It's a Wednesday after our meeting on the 6th.
They don't have to. Everybody was at Baltimore.
High school?
Yeah,
High school.
library.
Library. Okay, so that is, so the items to follow up for me, the 5-year look back status is still ongoing
Thank you.
with Sean Kane and Mary Beth Carter. Both have been informed that they were looking for that backup information. The updated schedule and member roster, that will be you, right? Can you send that out? Put Justin, maybe you could give him a little bit of lead on getting a town email too? I don't know. Sometimes, I know Josh doesn't reach out unless someone requests a town email, I guess.
I updated the schedule, but I will be switching everything that Lucas had.
As far as,
Justin,
yeah,
the liaison.
I think he can handle all those. And that's all I have for a follow-up, unless there's something else, John?
Has anybody experienced the upgrade to 365?
No, haven't done it yet.
It's on my list.
We have until June 30th.
I'm hoping I retire by
understand
then.
that, but
Two of those.
what I'm wondering is it somebody, you know, are you gonna have a Windows-based laptop?
No, I think you just need a two-factor login.
Yeah.
You just have to put a cell phone
That's
number or
all.
something.
Yeah.
I think that's all there is to it, right?
It removes you from the platform, so it doesn't matter whether you're Mac or PC at that point. It's basically web-based. Yeah,
But there will be a two-factor login, right?
correct.
Did you do it already?
I have not
Oh.
yet. No, it's
Okay,
on my list.
so, yep, so at anybody's leisure, they can do that, so. And if there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second?
You're quite.
Nice job, Ralph.